Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 19 GM Challenge with the Reds. We are almost midway through September, 19 games exactly left to play, and we are in another playoff push. As right now, with one game less played than the Cubs. We're just a half game behind them in the National League Central. So we haven't really lost too much ground since that last episode and may have picked up some. I think there was a time there where we actually were in first place, but couldn't get any distance on the Cubs. So it's going to be a tight race probably for the rest of the year if we can hold off and not have a collapse. Looking at where we are, just the team stats, we are struggling a little bit, not playing as well the second half of the season as we did in the first half. A lot of that has to do with injuries. If you've watched these last couple episodes, you know some pretty big injuries, both pitching and offense, and it's really been hard to stay on top of it. But I'm hoping that we made enough moves to make the final push and get us into the playoffs. I think we'll look at the standings, but I think we're still in line for that wild card spot. I just hope that we can start playing a little bit better. We finished 2 games below 500 in August, and we're at 500 in September. Offense is still doing good. Top 5 in a lot of categories, top 3 in a lot of categories. Pitching, though, has been pretty balanced. Aside from like home runs allowed, we are in the top 5 in most every pitching category, and we've really improved our defensive efficiency. We're at 5th, so that's been a pretty good, pleasant surprise too. One of the things on the disabled list, we lost quite a bit in the pitching side, and a couple of those guys were pitchers that we picked up to plug some gaps early in the season from injuries. So we lost Brad Brock this year, who was actually an all-star this year and was having a pretty good year when we traded him and started out looking really good for us, but he got injured. He's going to be gone for the rest of the year. So looks like I won't be having this guy to depend on after this season. And then Brad Hand is another guy, lefty reliever I picked up. He's got a team option coming up, and I'm going to have to rethink that. $10 million, that's going to be pretty big. I don't know that I'll re-sign him, and he's going to be lost for the rest of the regular season. If we make it deep into the playoffs, he might be available, but more than likely he's not going to be available. So 2 big pitching injuries we're dealing with right now from the guys we picked up, and then there's Jimmy Herget, who went down early, probably middle of the season. He's gone for the rest of the year. Won't have him for the playoffs. And Tanner Rainey, Chris Owens, those guys are gone. We don't have anyone on a rehab assignment. I guess by now AAA season is ended, but we finally got Nick Senzel back healthy. He really struggled with injuries this year. Right when he was starting to play good, middle of the season, he got injured, and he's been out all told 6 to 7 weeks. So he finally got back, and I'm hoping that he's going to finish strong for me. I gave him a pretty long rehab assignment to get him back on track. And then in terms of what I did for call-ups, didn't really do much, I don't think, on the pitching side. Well, I did bring up 2 guys. One, probably a gamble. This guy was in Double A, looking good in Double A, but hasn't been too good since he got called up just a couple games, and he's given up 3 earned runs already in a few innings. But I did call Peralta back up, hoping he can give me some lefty relief. He's set to be just a lefty specialist right now, and I'm hoping that's how Girardi keeps using him. No, I take it back. He is going to use him for middle relief. So that's how bad the pitching has gotten. But still going with Nicholas, though, in that fifth spot. And Cole Hamels is back. He's in long relief and emergency starting right now. And he's, for the most part, looked okay. If I'm looking at his September number, he's looked really good. I'm hoping he keeps that up for the rest of the year. And then on the lineup side, Long still having a good season. Cam Gibson averages stumbled quite a bit since where it was at the start of the year, but I think he's still having a really good year and might have a good shot at Rookie of the Year. Jesse Winker has been really cold the last couple months, so I don't know what's going on there. I hope he gets back on track, but he's hitting 150 in September. And with Taylor Trammell up now, he might get some time with Winker and Gibson in that outfield. Excuse me. So hopefully we've got enough here to finish out the season. Standings wise, we're 4.5 above Colorado for that wild card spot, and what is that? About 6.5 above the Mets. So that's pretty good. Magic number's 14. That's pretty good. With 21 games to play, or 19 games to play. But if you look at the pennant chase, one thing that has me really concerned, if I look at the Central Division, the Cubs, they have 18 at home, or 18 left, 9 at home, 9 away. Winning percentage of schedule is .512, while for us, 19 left, 6 home, 13 away, and schedule winning percentage of .519. So that's a challenge, and if we get into a pretty bad losing streak, we could be in trouble. And if you look at us on the road, we are literally playing better by a large margin. We're playing better on the road. So I hope that keeps up, but it still scares me because this is still a simulation, and a lot of times those averages will catch up to you as the year goes on. So I'm hoping that we keep this kind of percentage going, but I'm not going to hold my breath. One other thing I'll look at, and then we'll get started and finish out the year. In terms of some of the rest of the league and the pennant races going on, New York is in a pretty good spot above Boston in the American League East. Tampa Bay, they might have outside chance at making that wild card. And then Cleveland and Minnesota, that's going to be a pretty tight race in the Central. And then Houston is just going to cruise, it looks like, in the American League West. And Oakland really did stumble. They're going to have a tough time, I think, to even get close to 500 this year. In terms of who's having some good years, how about Bryce Harper? He's on pace for a 9+ wins above replacement. He's having a great year. A lot of it has to do with those walks, but his average is really high. He's playing a lot better in this playthrough. Since I started in 2018, his average has been really high. So not something he's seeing too much in real life, but he's having a great year. So is Justin Williams, who 3-star player, but he's having just a monster year. 366 batting average, on pace for 240 hits, looking really good. So this is his second full year in the league, so he might be a pretty good star here in the making. And then some win totals here that are, for the most part, pretty high, with Fulmer and Rodriguez at 15. In the National League, looks like the Braves are going to win it, but the Mets are giving them a little bit of a run, 3.5 games back. Outside of us and the Cubs, it's I guess St. Louis could get on a pretty strong run and compete for the wild card, but they're like 2.5 back on the wild card. And then the Dodgers are cruising in that West, not having any problems at all. David Dahl is probably on pace. He's almost to the Triple Crown numbers. Shedrick Long's still tied for second in RBI lead, but David Dahl is leading in several categories. He might be the top bet right now to win MVP in the National League. And some of the pitching, some of the guys who are having really good years, for me have stumbled. Jimmy Nelson, he's still got to get wins above replacement, but he's fallen off the strikeout and win leaderboards. I don't expect this guy to get re-signed by me, although, if he would just go for a little bit less. I mean, 20 plus is really hard for me to go with this guy, even though he's been pretty solid for me this year for the most part. So that's where we're at. Let's go ahead and start it off. I'm just going to play a game at a time until we get to the point where I know for sure how we're going to finish up. But 3 games on the road against St. Louis. First game up is a win, 8-5. So maybe our road winning will continue, and we jumped ahead of Chicago by half a game. Joey Votto, a good game, 2 for 2, 3 walks. Gibson, Long, good games there. Winker, finally a good game, 2 for 4. And pitching-wise, Nelson, he did have a solid start, 6 1/3, just 1 earned run. Strope, who's looked really good since I traded for him. He's a free agent this year. I think based on his age, I'm not sure if I'll re-sign him, but he's looked pretty good. He was a good pickup for me. So game 2 against St. Louis, we win 4-2, and we're up a game and a half over Chicago. Joey Votto, another solid game. Same with Shedrick Long, 2 for 4. Almora, who started to hit a little bit better in September, his average is up to 273. Mikolas got the win, his 6th for me, and Green, that 33rd save. He's looking pretty good too. So we're going for the sweep last game, and we lose 4-5, a close one. Peraza, a good game, 3 for 4. Votto, another good game. Sincel, 1 for 4. He did. He gave his 15th home run, but bullpen blew it for us. Gesellman, not a bad game, but Lorenzen blew it in the pen. News: Trey Turner, surfer, so he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Looks like big injury for Washington. I don't know if Washington's close to anything. Yeah, they're well below 500. So Chicago has stumbled. We need to just keep up the pace, and I think this is going to be a 3-game series against the Cubs on the road. So this could go a long way towards deciding if we can win it or not. So we win that first one 5-2. Fulmer, his 16th win. Mariners out. Astros already won their division. So 5-2 on the road. Votto, another good game. Look how he's doing this week. He is hitting 600, 9 for 15. Wow. Long, another good game. Winker had a good game there. I think he's going to reach 100 RBIs again. And Almora, another good game, 3 for 4. Tyler Mahle picked up his 12th win. Looked solid in this one. And Green, his 34th save. Now, the second game of the series, another big win, 6-1. That puts us 3.5 up over Chicago right now. Looking at the news, Jose Altuve out for 6 weeks, a big injury for them. Oakland and Rangers are already out of the playoffs, but let's see how we win this one. Peraza, solid at the leadoff spot. Votto, another good game, 2 for 2, 2 walks, 2 RBIs. Winker was 2 for 4, and Castillo, who has looked really good this second half of the season, picked up his 13th win. I think he was the pitcher of the month in July, which was a pleasant surprise. And I guess he has stumbled a little bit the last couple months, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. He's still just 27, about to turn 28. His whip has been really good. Strikeout totals are really good. I think he's going to be at least a good 3 or 4 starter for me next year if he stays healthy. So last game of the series, can we sweep him? And let's see. 3-9, a big loss. So they needed that. Votto, though, another solid game. 2 for 2, 2 runs, 2 walks. Senzel was 1 for 2. Nelson, not a great game, but it looks like the bullpen blew it for us. Maciel, I think I probably need to just put him back to AAA at the moment. I don't think he's the guy I need really pitching in situations where we're needing him. So that puts us pretty thin at pitching. That's so 12, which is really like what I like to go with for the regular season, but I don't think there's anybody that I can really depend on unless I went with Iglesias, but he's looked so bad. I don't really think there's anybody here that I want to call up and run the risk of they're going to do the same thing that Maciel did. Let's look at the news, though. Dodgers are in. They clinched the playoff spot. And Max Kepler was a player of the week, and Joey Votto, well-deserved. He was 13 for 19 this week to get the player of the week. Jake Junis, who's now with San Diego, he's out for the year. And power rankings, we are 6th. And looks like Dodgers, San Diego's out of the playoffs. So now magic number's 11. We're 2.5 up. That is incredible. So looking pretty good. I hope we can do this. We got Minnesota, a tough one because they're now leading the Central. They're playing really tough. Let's see if we can keep the winning going back at home. First game against Minnesota, squeaker 5-4. Joey Votto continues to hit 1 for 2 with 2 walks. Trammell looked good, drove in a couple, and Hernandez a big pitch hit. He's had a great year. If he wasn't wanting so much money, I mean, he's just going to be a bench player at this point. But he's wanting almost $5 million for a couple years, and he's had such a good year for me. He was definitely a good pickup. I just don't think I can swing that much money for a guy coming off the bench, and I don't know that he could repeat this year. But pitching wise, Mikolas not too bad. Green picked up the win in relief, and now Craig Counsell losing the clubhouse. What team is that? Milwaukee. Chris Archer is down for a few days. Brent Suter is going to be down for the Cubs for the rest of the year. And the Dodgers do win the West. All right, so let's we're 2.5 still up on Chicago. Game 2 at home with Minnesota. Big win, 11-5. Seattle got rid of their GM and manager, so Chicago's still winning though. But Votto, another solid game. He 3 for 5, scored 2, drove in 2. Senzel, a good game. Gibson, a good game. He's still struggling a little bit. Winker, 2 for 3. And pitching-wise, Gesellman didn't pitch all that great, but Alcantara got the win in relief, and Hamels pitched 2 solid innings, got his ERA below 4. So last game of the series, can we sweep them? And we do. 3-0 shutout. Unbelievable. And Justin Williams, 5 hits for Tampa Bay. His average is up to 370. But looking at this game, not much offensively, although Tyler Mahle was 2 for 2, drove in 2 of the runs. He picked up his 13th win, looked great. 7 innings, just 4 hits, no runs, 9 strikeouts. And Green with his 35th save. He might get close to 40 if we get on a pretty good run here. So now, next series now after we send ahead, this is going to be the Cubs again. And we're going to be at home. And this is a big one for them. They could really catch us in this one. So we've won 3. They've won 4 straight. Our magic number down to 8. Gosh, how many games is that left? 12. So we got 10 games left. This is really the series of the year. So let's hope we can hold on here. Come on, guys. First game, 12-5, big win. That puts us back 3.5 games up. And we secured the wild card with that. So not too bad. 2 out of the 3 years now we've been in the playoffs. Let's see how the team won. Big game from Senzel, 5 RBIs. Gibson, another pretty solid game. Some big hits from a few guys there. Votto, another solid game. What a year he's having. I've said it before. If he is definitely coming to the end of his career in this playthrough. He's going out really on a high note. This is one of the best years he's had since I've. Well, it is probably the best year he's had since I've been simming. Castillo picked up his 14th win. Was a little shaky, but did enough to get it with that offense. So now game 2, this will be a big win if we could do it. Yeah, big loss, 4-11. So let's see. Looks like Senzel was good in the game. Trammell 2 for 4, but Nelson picked up his 10th loss. Didn't look good at all. Hamels looked really bad in relief, and that means we're gonna have to really win this one to keep them on the ropes, and we do. 7-5, great win. Let's look at this game, then we'll look at the news. So Long looks like he may have got a 3-run home run in this game. Almora was 2 for 2, scored 2 runs. So he's continued to pick up his pace a little bit. Votto another hit. I'm wondering how many games that makes in a row for him hitting. Stroke picked up the win. Green his 36th save. Now, he was hitless a few games ago, but he's been on a great run. I think for the month, let me see what he's doing for the month of September, he's hitting 386. Not a lot of power, but he's getting on base quite a bit. So, Players of the Week, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the American League, and the National League was Corey Seager. And for the power rankings, we're up to 3rd, and we've got how many games? 7 games left. So it's going to be a 4-game series on the road against Milwaukee, and closing out 3 games against Pittsburgh. Our magic number's down to 4. So if we can win 4 of those games, we've won the division. That's incredible. And looks like in the rest of the leagues, Cleveland, really Minnesota took a big dive, and it may have started with that series against us when we swept them, but they've lost 8 in a row now, and I think we swept them, and Cleveland is now bumped up 2.5 games on top of them. So Minnesota's still got a good shot at the wild card, but that's going to be a tough race now for them to catch Cleveland with just a few games left. And Boston and New York, looks like that's going to go to New York. And Atlanta, 3 games up on the Mets. All right, so here's this first game against Milwaukee. We win 6-2. Magic number down to 3. See what the news gives us. So the Yankees secured their place in the playoffs. Same with the Cubs, but Peraza's struggling a little bit. But Almora, great game, 4 for 4, 5 RBIs. Long was 2 for 3, and Mikolas picked up his 7th win, 7 1/3 strong innings. So game 2 against Milwaukee, 8-6. That magic number's got to be down to a game now, but Senzel 2 for 3 scored 2, Winker 4 for 5, so his average is back up to 310, and he picked up his 100th RBI for the year. Another good game from Long. And Molly didn't look too good in this one, but the bullpen came through, and Green picked up his 37th save. So now we're looking at 1 game. We are 1 game away, 1 win away from winning the Central. And we do. Holy cow. That is incredible. So not only are we in the playoffs, we've won the division. I did not see that coming. I know Chicago took a slide the second half of the year, and we were really looking kind of tough, or looking rough for us, but we picked it up in September. Let me look and see what the rest of the news looks like. Looks like Cleveland is in. I'll look at that player development update too before we go any further. See what we're looking at. So Pedro Strop lost lost some ratings. Rainey, because of that injury, he's probably lost some. Herget, even though he's on the DL, he picked up a movement rating, so that's good. Hamels, he's showing his age. Chad Green, stamina dropped, but movement rating went up. That's good. Brad Brock, he lost some, so not going to really pick him up again. But Alcantara, he's improved a little bit. He's a guy I'm going to have on the team next year, probably in the relief, but he might actually turn out to be a starter. So Barnhart, some more drops from him. And I love his defense, but he's a guy I might have to start looking at a replacement for. And then Joey Votto dropped several ratings again, defensive rating, contact, and Peraza, big drops there in contact and speed. So didn't want to see that from him. But Taylor Trammell picked up quite a few there. He went from contact from 13 to 14 and speed from 18 to 19. His defensive rating improved to 12 in the outfield. So if he's healthy, I think he's going to be ready to go next year, which means I might have some trade opportunities in the offseason. Cam Gibson might be one of those that I would be willing to trade, but he dropped a little bit there. See if there's any big guys in the minors. Tommy Nash at Pensacola, he's just a 2-star potential. But Hunter Green, control dropped, movement improved. He's got to get off that DL and get some play time back. So I don't see anything major the rest of the way. Let's take a look at the rest of the news. So we're into October now. Carlos Correa was batter of the month for the American League, had a great month, having a good season. And then Pavin Smith was player of the month in the National League, or batter of the month. Pitching wise, pitcher of the month Ryan Burr, and hey, Chad Green was pitcher of the month in the National League, and he has had a great great run here. 9 saves for the month of September. And then for the rookies, Vladimir Guerrero and Hinojosa, that's how you say it right, for San Francisco. Yankees win the American League East. Cleveland is in, but that Central is still up for grabs. And then we finished on top in the National League. Let's see how we won that. So Peraza did have a good game here. Long had another home run, his 27th. Let's see, Trammell 2 for 3, and Castillo picked up his 15th win. So he's going to be leading the staff in wins, and I don't think anybody else is going to catch him. So he came on strong in the second half of the season. Really, I mean that's 11 wins in July, August, and September. So good way for him to close. So let's finish out the season here. Another game against Milwaukee. We lose 3-4, but we still won the series three games to 4 out of 4. Votto, a good game for the most part. And pitching wise, Nelson continues to struggle. 4 runs in 4 innings. And with the last 3 games left, let's see how the standings look now. So Yankees have clinched. Cleveland, their magic number's down to 2, and let's see who they're playing. It would really be great if they finished, and they do. They finish out the season at the Twins, so that's going to be one to keep an eye on. And then Houston, big winners in the West. And Braves, magic number's down to 1, and again, it would be nice if they're closing out against New York, and they are at New York, so that's another one to watch. And then Dodgers and the Reds, pretty big winners in their division. So first game against Pittsburgh, we lose 3-4, and I hope we don't have a come down here after winning that division. Gibson picked up his 100th RBI for the year, so that's 3 guys with 100 plus RBIs, and Votto not too far back at 94. Gesellman had a pretty rough outing, and let's see what the Royce Lewis hit for the cycle on the Twins. Amir Garrett's out. He's a guy who, of course, pitched for me in 2018. So the Braves managed to win their division against the Mets. So we managed to win the second game against the Pirates. That puts us up to 94 wins on the year. Long 2 for 4, Trammell 2 for 4, and Gibson looks like he had a pinch hit home run. Mikolas didn't get the win, but he gave us 7 strong innings, and Green is 39th save. So Corey Seager out of the lineup. Wow. It's hopefully that's minimal, but it's for 2 to 3 weeks. And then the Indians did win the American League Central, but the Twins made it into the playoffs. So here's the last game of the season, and we lose 2 to 7. So we finished 94 and 68, but we win that division. Let's see how we lost this one. Peraza finished with 2 for 5. Senzel, a good game. Long, another good game. Castillo, though, was rocked pretty heavy. 5 runs in 3 innings. So I wish he wasn't as inconsistent, but still 15 wins from him. That's a pretty good year. And looking at power rankings, we are 6th, so the Cubs had a better week than we did. But see what the international leagues, see if we had anybody show up, and we don't in the pitcher of the year. And Mets are in, Giants are out. So let's see if everything's set here. So it looks like the Yankees, Indians, Astros, and then it's going to be Minnesota, and I'm thinking we're going to have a 1-game playoff here. Tampa Bay came on strong, and they tied with the Red Sox. So we'll have to see how that plays out. So I need to set our playoff roster. So the Tampa Bay Rays managed to make it in there. So how's that? I did not see that coming. And really it was this collapse from Boston. Nine in a row. Big collapse from them. But Houston, Cleveland, New York, then the Rays and the Twins. Justin Williams led the league in batting, had a great year. Stanton had 58 home runs. Joey Gallo, 140 RBIs. Michael Fulmer led the league with 17 wins. And then Faria got over 200 strikeouts, 201 to lead the league in strikeouts. In the National League, Corey Seager led the league in batting average, but Votto finished 3rd because he had such a strong finish. 368 in September, 302 in August, so he was even hitting pretty good then. Rhys Hoskins hits 53 home runs to lead the league. He came out of nowhere too, it looks like. He finished September, he had 12 home runs in September alone, so that was a big month for him. Long finished 3rd in RBIs. Not seeing anybody else here. Cody Bellinger had a great year, might be a front runner for MVP. For wins, it was Harris and Sims with 18. Sonny Gray did good for Atlanta. He had 16. And then Chad Green finished 2nd in saves, so that's pretty good. So that's going to be how we finish up. In terms of the playoffs in the National League, it's the Braves, Reds, Dodgers winning their divisions, and then San Francisco barely missed it, but the Mets and Cubs are going to be in the wild card. So playoffs could be pretty exciting here. This is going to be the first time with the Reds team that I'm going to be able to skip the wild card, and more than likely I'll play the Braves in that first season. Let me see if the schedule's already set. Yeah, so we're going to be playing against the Braves, and I really would like to. I know there's a way to go by team. Where do I find that? Is that going to be its history? No, it can't be there. There's got to be a report here. So let's see how this may not be the best way to find it, but I'll look at it here. So man, it's not giving me that what I want. All right, well, I'll look for that. It'll show us in the playoff coverage anyway. I don't know why I'm bothering with that, but I wanted to see how we had done against them. So the division series, I'll just have to wait till we get there. It'll show us how we did against Atlanta, because offhand, I can't remember too much about playing them this year, but I hope we had a pretty good time against them. They might match up pretty well against us. They've been on a run here lately. They didn't finish with a lot of wins, but let's see if they got some big injuries here. Swanson's out, so he'll be out for the playoffs. Rio Ruiz, who was their third baseman, he's going to be out. Bryce Wilson was a pretty decent reliever, but for the most part, looking at their lineup, Freddie Freeman, of course, is going to be dangerous. He had a great year. Albies and Acuna are going to be tough. And they've got McCutcheon, but he's having an off year. And Inciarte has probably got some good defense, good contact, so he might be tough too. And then if you look at their pitching, they got Sonny Gray, Mike Montgomery, Lucas Sims, Kobe Allard. So he's not going to be in that starting rotation, but he could start. And then Tyler Duffy, and then they've got Mentor for the closer, who's pretty good. So they're going to give me a run for it, I'm sure. But at least we'll be home for the series, the 5-game series, and that might give us a little bit of a benefit. If I'm going to look one last thing, because yeah, we did manage to finish above 500 at home with those last few games. So hopefully we're going to keep playing better at home. But we've looked really good on the road, so that's a good combination, honestly. So that's where it's going to be. I'm going to have to set up the the playoff rosters, and then get geared up like I usually do for the playoffs. I'll sim through until we reach a deciding game, and then I'll come back up and make that the next episode. And then between now and then, I'll probably go back to the Phillies. We're in the same situation. We're about 20 games left, but we're having a tough time in that Phillies playthrough. I don't know if we're going to be able to. Definitely don't think we're going to make the playoffs, but it's going to be a struggle to have a winning record. We've started to collapse, but hopefully we're rebuilding something over there. But as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you next episode.